When I was first told by my doctor, my fertility doctor, that donor eggs was perhaps the most viable path to parenthood for me moving forward. This was post 4 years of trying of IVF treatments, 5 miscarriages. She was very subtle about it, to be fair for her. But my first reactions were no, this isn't for me. This wasn't something I was prepared to do. But perhaps more strongly, I just felt like such a failure. I felt like, why does this have to be my path? Why can't I do this by myself? And I don't want to have help, that sort of help, to be able to have a baby. And I guess I just felt it wasn't fair that this was my path and that was what it had to be. And I felt like I was sort of being, not by my doctor, but certainly by life, I just felt I was being forced into a path that I didn't want and into something that I hadn't ever considered, I hadn't needed to consider, and I wasn't prepared to consider. So I felt it was very complex but very much a hard no to start with. That was my initial response. I did have also, together with all of that, we are complex as humans, the way we process things, and tied in with all of that sense of, no, this isn't the path that I want to go down. I hate that this has to be my path. And I felt like such a failure through all of that sort of, I guess, performance anxiety and pressure and just a sense of disappointment that I had to rely on something external to be able to do something which I should be, I'm biologically designed to do this. In addition to all that, there was a smidgen of hope that, well, maybe this could work. Because after years and years of conception not working for us, and I had really just resigned within myself that I couldn't conceive a second child. We'd conceived our first son relatively easily, which now I sort of look back and I have different thoughts on that. I actually think he was a miracle that he was born to, given the trouble that we had post him. So, at the time, donor eggs was a smidgen of hope, because maybe, just maybe, this would work. So I just wanted to highlight that your initial reactions and responses to donor eggs can be really strong. They can be really complicated. They can be really hard yeses or hard nos. And that doesn't mean that you won't pursue it. And it doesn't mean that that's the end of your conception journey. You can always change your mind, as I did. I really went from a visceral, hard, no, hell no, to that spiraling of shame and self-criticism and, not so much why me, but why does this have to be the path? Like, why can't this be easy? Why can't this part of life be easy? Because every other part of my life I've been able to have some level of control over what happened and determine what happened. And in this world, we know we don't. And you learn that. Unfortunately, we learn it the hard way. So yeah, the initial response, your initial response is not always going to reflect what you end up deciding down the track, because it certainly hasn't for me. And I think that's very normal, because it's, even IVF, we come to different, we come to that even thinking that when on our fertility journey, we don't ever envisage that we'll need help along the way. We don't ever envisage that we'll have to visit our doctors and visit our specialists and our clinics to get help with this part of our lives, because as women, we know that we've always been, conditioned, and it's been drummed into us You know, in our internal wiring, that we're women, we get periods, and we get periods for a reason. We get them to bear children, and we're told our entire, you know, teenage lives and early adult lives to protect ourselves from pregnancy and to prepare for it. And we're wired for having babies and designed to have babies, and that's what women do. And we do see that around us, and so we assume logically and very appropriately that we should be able to do this, until in our experiences we can't. So with IVF, we come to that, and that becomes our new norm once we've been exposed to it and we understand it, and that becomes a way of life, or a part of our life, a consuming part of our lives, but that becomes normal. And it's the same with donor eggs. Your initial response, your initial feelings and thoughts about it can be really heightened and complicated and very strong. And yet, depending on your choices and how you work through your fears around those things and those feelings, you can get to a clearer path where you decide that that is a path to parenthood you're willing to take. And so donor eggs becomes normal for you. And so I think everyone in life, whatever their story is, whatever their hardships are, that is normal for them, and that becomes their new normal. There was a phrase, I remember watching Oprah years and years ago, there was an expert and an author on her show called Gary Zukav, and I remember distinctly at the time that we are always, depending on our life circumstances, we're always coming to a new normal. And so what wasn't normal before is now. And so for me, IVF wasn't normal for me and wasn't a path that I'd planned for, but became my new normal. And donor egg conception was something that I never fathomed I'd ever have to contemplate, until I did, until we did, until I made the decision to go down this path to parenthood. So I hope this helps normalize this part of the journey. And as I said, I'm not whether you choose this path or not is not up to me. It's not for me to convince you, and I'm not here to do that. I'm just here to be a guide, to show you some living proof of someone who's been through it, and to show that I understand it. And just because I made the decision to have my baby, and I love him with all that I am, and have no regrets about him and his coming into the world, it doesn't mean that the journey to him was smooth sailing and easy and seamless decision making, because it wasn't. This is a really complicated journey, and we need support through it. We need to support ourselves through it, and seek support from those around us if we can. And that's essentially why I'm doing this work, because I want to support you as you're navigating your way through this. And that's why I started, you know, my business. It takes three, baby. It sounds a bit strange calling it a business, because it's not. It's just work. It's just helping. I want to help women, and started and created my More Than Genes course, because that's what I want to do. I want to help you through this really fraught, hard, complicated, but also amazing part of your life. Thanks for listening.